Welcome back on Newsmaker. 1 in 10 Americans over 65 are living with dementia. This obviously affects the person, but it often leaves families and loved ones scrambling and overwhelmed, trying to find help, trying to figure out how to manage this. Former Phoenix Mayor and Attorney General Terry Goddard has been touched by this personally. He joins me now to share a very personal story about a family member. And Terry, great to see you as always.
Thank you, John.
And we're going to bring in the real saviors in this story, Navi nurses, in a moment. We're not going to get into too much detail because it's very personal, but this family member passed away at age 76 in September, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
No, this person was very close to you. Can you describe kind of the journey, first recognizing that something was up with this family member?
Well, I'll try. You led in with dementia, and he had dementia that had become very acute over the last 5 years. And that made his medical care significantly more difficult because part of the issue seems to be oppositional. Sometimes people can be just sweet as can be, and then they'll become very oppositional. In his case, it revolved around the actual medical procedures that he needed to be involved in for his health, the pills that he had to take. He decided that he was should be the arbiter of which pills he took when. And
I mean, he's a grown-up. You know, this is the thing.
He's run his own life for 70 years. We found as family members there was no way to talk him down. And when we got a professional nurse in the equation on a strategic basis, they were able to fix it. They very kindly made sure that he understood what the routine was. They then administered that routine for the next several years and really made his care at home, and I want to emphasize that. The family wanted to make sure that he stayed in the home that he'd lived in for over 50 years. And that was important for
That's a tricky one. So was there ever an effort to try to move him in with you guys?
No, that wouldn't have worked. And there was, we looked at, but when he was fully conscious of the surroundings, we looked at institutions, and he basically said, nope, not going to do that. So we felt that part of his care involves staying in the home.
This touches 1 in 9 people. 11% of the population age 65 and older have Alzheimer's. And in Arizona, it's 151,000 people who have dementia. And think about the spokes out from that, the families involved, who are touched by it.
Right, big time. And it's hard to deal with because this is somebody you love, somebody that you've known for years, and suddenly they're virtually somebody else. And sometimes we found that the family was simply not able to cope.
How cognizant was he that his condition had changed? Is he aware of what's happening?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I can't get inside of his head, but
or that something isn't right.
He didn't seem to be. He knew something wasn't right. I mean, it was clear. He lived in the past. He lived in memories that he still had of times many, many years ago. But in terms of current memory, something that happened 10 minutes ago would be gone from his mental stack. And so he was somewhat confused most of the time. But as a result of that, he became oppositional. And so if somebody said, go left, he would say, I'm going right. Yeah. And that made it very hard for the people who loved him to make sure that he was taking his proper medication, that he was taking care of himself just in a cleanliness way.
So tell me about Navi nurses and how you arrived at that decision to bring in an outside agent to kind of help out.
Well, we knew it was beyond our capacity. That was our biggest revelation. And so we were fortunate to find Navi nurse, but I think many professional nurses could fill this category, which is to bring a professional, caring focus on a medical situation that's clearly out of the capacity, out of the out of the experience realm of the immediate family.
Yep, and it takes you off the hot seat a little bit too.
Well,
because
it does.
You
It
become the
provides
policeman.
Peace of mind, really,
Yeah.
because you know somebody who knows what they're doing, and they became an intermediary too with some of the doctors, which was a later benefit that I did not expect.
And they've got medical training. They've got medical background.
Well, the doctors preferred to talk to them, I can tell you.
Right. Okay.
We were irrelevant to that process.
So with that, let's bring in Jasmine Bhatti, who founded Navi Nurses, a former nurse with Mayo. Great to see you, Jasmine. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you for inviting me to be here and share this beautiful story. So honored to be part of Terry and his family and this journey.
So you got involved in this, I take it, because you saw exactly this kind of need.
Yeah, and honestly, I faced this myself as a family caregiver, and that's why I started the company, because I realized that what insurance covers is really not enough for people, and oftentimes the burden of care falls on the family members who they're not nurses, and you don't all of a sudden become a nurse overnight. And so I'm building something that I really wish that I had had and my family had access to when my loved one was really ill.
When you deal with a dementia patient, I guess we'll use patient, what are the biggest challenges in trying to communicate with them and set them on the right path that's best for them?
Well, you know, the first thing that we do is approach the family collectively and ask what the goals are. And, you know, in this case, one of the biggest goals were Terry's loved one wanted to be at home. And honestly, when someone has cognitive decline, being in their own home environment, surrounded by things that they're really familiar with, that's actually really critical to them. And research shows that when we can bring nurses into the home, that people can actually stay at home longer. And that's where they're going to be happiest, have the highest quality of life. But, you know, we want to center everything around the goals of the person and the family, getting everyone on the same page. And then we're able to come in and using those goals as the anchor to really help put together a care plan that takes into account all of the things that are really important to them.
Can you explain why it would be harder for Terry in this situation to quarterback this thing, why it's actually better to have a third party come in? Why that dynamic seems counterintuitive?
You know, it's funny. That's a great question. I'm a nurse that specializes in neuro, ENT, and plastics. I have a loved one who has a cardiac problem, and I am absolutely in no position to help quarterback, even though I'm a nurse and I have medical training. So really having a nurse who is specialized in that area is really, really key. And also, you know, as a nurse, like, I want to be involved with the care of my loved ones, but I want to be their family member first and foremost and be present for them as a loved one. And that's what our responsibility is.
It's easier for you to be kind of the tough guy when it's necessary, where the family member might get pushed back?
100%.
Wow, that's so interesting.
I think part of it is that we know the right things to say and the right questions to ask. And as nurses, we oftentimes know what the journey will look like, so we know what to anticipate.
Okay.
And that gives us clarity on how we need to approach a situation, whereas a family member is just like immediately concerned with, oh my gosh, what's happening right now, and they want clarity in the moment.
Go ahead.
You're describing a sort of a Nurse Ratched situation, and that's not what they were.
No, I understand that, but I mean, sometimes it's weird how the difficult conversations
well, in our
are
case,
better accepted from a third party than a family member.
Our family member was hoarding his pills.
Yeah.
And taking them when he felt it was appropriate. Well, that's not going to help with your cure.
No.
So the nurses were able to put that in order very calmly, very professionally.
Okay.
There was no overriding or do it my way, that's the only way.
Yeah.
And they also cared for the whole person. I found out that he was a singer and interested in music, and all of a sudden they started bringing in some of his favorite tunes. And that had a healing effect as well.
Did. Yeah.
The other thing we were able to do was a strategic use. We would have loved to have had the nurses 24 hours a day, but we could only bring them in strategically on a few occasions, and that was a huge help.
One more thing, securing a residence. He's living on his own. How do you secure the residence so that he can't do harm to himself or others? I mean, obviously the car was taken away probably years ago, I'm assuming.
Oh, it stayed in the, yeah, it was
Okay.
the ability to use the car was
But
taken
what
away.
about kids, preventing them
physical car
from
stayed.
walking out, from leaving? That's tricky stuff.
The family had to deal with that.
Okay, you did. Okay, Jasmine, that's a common concern, I'm sure.
It is. And, oftentimes this is why family members will actually bring their loved ones to live with them so they can keep a better eye on them. But there are some tools now with technology that you can implement to help keep track of your loved one, making sure that they're not leaving the house, that they are staying safe. And so those tools can be really helpful, particularly in early onset of cognitive decline. And as things change, obviously, it may look a little bit different, but you want to try to utilize every resource you can to help keep them safe for sure.
Bless you, and I know I can tell just from talking to you, you've got a great heart, and you're appreciated. So thanks for what you do.
Thank you. And it's all my nurses and the team that get to make this impact, and it's so beautiful. Thank you.
Jasmine, Bhatti, Terry, great to see you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I think this
digging into this.
It's an
really
important
to so many
conversation
people.
now. Yes, it is. Thank you. Great to see you. We're back in a minute on Newsmaker.